Scrap Mechanic is a very finished game. Uh, and I think it's ready to be released. This is Scrap Mechanic. This is Scrap Mechanic. This is Scrap Mechanic. This this is Scrap Mechanic. This is this is Scrap Mechanic. Oh, this is Scrap Mechanic. Th- this is Scrap Mechanic, but also this is Scrap Mechanic. This 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 is Scrap Mechanic. Hello everybody and welcome to Scrap Mechanic, a game which is very very finished and not buggy at all. And I think it's ready to be released. Pre-released? What is that? This game is ready. Yes, it's completely ready. It has no issues. And it's multiplayer. It has multiplayer. Yep. And multiplayer works really good. Yeah, like no lag at all. Not choppy. Yeah, no, yeah, Scrap Mechanic has a bit to go. The multiplayer is pretty laggy and stuff, but despite how far it is from being released, this is a pretty solid pre-release game. We're in survival right now, which is relatively new, and they're actually having a new update soon. And how Scrap Mechanic works is, it's a game with, it's like it's a voxel game, sort of, but terrain isn't a voxel. Creations are like groups of blocks. Like this is a creation. This toilet over here by itself is a creation. This is a creation. It's grounded right now because it's in the ground. You can't like move it around. But if you make something on your lift and remove your lift, that's a creation. But yeah, and you can also make a creation by just like breaking that block and insert another creation. And how it works is things like how to make cars and stuff. You have parts like here. Let me show you. You have parts like engines and bearings and stuff, and you put gas in the engines or connect the engine to a gas canister that you put gas in, and you connect it to a seat, and when you press W or S, it drives the wheels the engines are connected to forward and back, and you can rotate them around. Same things with like switches and stuff. You can turn on and off lights and turn on and off engines and stuff with switches. And then if you connect switches or buttons to a seat, you can access them from the seat. And then there's the spot guns. You can zoom in and stick them on things, and lights of all manner. And then there's a paint tool, which oh, sorry. I only have 2 paint canisters, so this is gonna have to be a pretty short demo. But you can like paint blocks different colors, or you can like paint things colors. You can unpaint them. No. And then to do stuff you need like resources, and to get resources you pretty much need a car. So yeah, also driving cars, it doesn't drift at all. The wheels have very appropriate very appropriate amounts of friction. This car is very light because it's yeah, and then Scrap Mechanic, your car never flips. There's like, you have to really try to make it so your car can flip. Oh, but there's radios. Radios are great. They play really good music that might be copyrighted. So how Scrap Mechanic Survival works is you spawn in this world that's like generated, but even though it's ooh, that's some great generation. Even though it's generated, there are some tiles, which are like assets that like sets of assets that were already made, like this. Like someone modeled that, and then it just decided to spawn there. Those like rocks and stuff are modeled, and the extra big trees. And then there's these places called shipping centers, where if you have like a lot of fruit or vegetables that you grow, you can make a special interface on your car and then like drive your car backwards into the thing and load them up with fruit, and then they'll pop out as crates, and then you can give the crates to the trader, which we decided to build our base around. This tile, this is a tile because it's not like it's not generated. Somebody modeled this. So yeah, you give the you put the crates on your car, then you like come into this guy's the trader over here. You do this and the vacuum tube sucks up the thing, and then when you do that, you give them to this guy over here, and then you can get loot with the crates. But then there's also these, probably can't see it very well, caged farmers, which are like farmers that are in a cage. You have to find those by going in autumn forests, which are like forests that are kind of autumn. And those are cool, but also bosses can spawn in them, and bosses are kind of spook. So every game needs its enemies, and in this game, the enemies are evil robots that were, I don't remember how they became evil, but they're evil robots. And they try to eat you. Well, they don't try to eat you, they try to kill your crops, because they really hate it when you like farm, I guess. They're anti-farmers. And then you have to defend your farm from them. And also, yeah, your cars do tip. Always. Every car. If you make a car that doesn't tip, then you're cheating, you're hacking. So you have to defend against the bots, and you can do that just by using your hammer to smash them. And you always keep your tools on you if you die. You respawn with whatever tools you had on you, and your hammer is one of those tools that you always respawn with. And then you can use that hammer to smash robots, or because that's kind of dangerous because the robots can like get close to you and deal damage, you can get a spud gun, and that's what incentivizes the whole crate thing with the car and the fruit and the crate. You can trade those with the trader to get. Oh, I ran into a tree. Trade those with a trader to get a spud gun to defend against the bots, and then you can also use them for other things like cool seeds. And then this is just the first chapter, and it's pre-release, so but it's the first chapter. Oh, but next to me right now is an oil pond. It always has oil in it, and then you can use a pump to pump oil out of the pond and into a chest where you can just pick it up. Oil has a 1-to-1 crafting ratio with fuel, so that you can always have fuel if you make one of those little farm things. So basically, we have infinite fuel right now. So one of the other parts of survival is what you can see just over the hill over here. This massive building over here is called a warehouse. And inside there's some pretty good loot, but it's filled to the brim with tape bots, which are robots that shoot rolls of tape at you. They're the only robots that have a ranged attack, besides the boss, who like shoot pesticide chemicals on a pretty high arc that you can dodge fairly easily. Yeah, all the bots walk slower than you except for the boss, which can match your speed, so that's kind of what makes them so dangerous. You can defeat hay bots and tote bots, which are the smaller robots that aren't the boss, or the tape bots that have projectiles. You can just basically walk backwards while hitting those with a hammer to defeat them. Unless they're in a large group, then you're kind of screwed. But, the boss, you can't use your hammer on it. Your hammer doesn't do any damage. And if you get close enough to use your hammer, you're close enough for it to use its giant knife. It has, well, it's not like a knife, like a sword. It's kind of like a sai, because the bosses are called farm bots. And so all these bots do different things, like, or were purposed to do different things. So a tote bot has like a tote bot head which plays music. I'm pretty sure that I don't actually know what the tote bots were supposed to do on a farm, so that's kind of hypocritical that I said that right after that. But then there's the hay bots, which have like a pitchfork, and hay bots, I guess they pitch hay or something like that, and they do damage by like either slashing with their pitchfork or kind of stabbing with it. And then there's tote bots, which are these like little green heads littered everywhere. Or those are just the heads of tote bots, and their attacks, they kind of attack with their little squid legs, and they're pretty easy to defeat. They're supposed to be, I think, the lowest of a mob. And then there's the tape bots, which shoot balls of tape. And then there's the red tape bots. I call them tier 2 tape bots. The red or tier 2 tape bots shoot exploding things that go boom, and they're very strong. You can only find those in warehouses, and you can only find normal tape bots underneath warehouses. The problem is, or not the problem, but the other central mechanic in Scrap Mechanic is farming. And how it works is, when you have a farm at a certain time, I think it's like daybreak or dawn or something, depending on what crops you have planted, it gives you sort of like a raid level. So like kind of it decides based on what kind of crops you have. It decides how dangerous the raid should be. And then once it decides how dangerous the raid should be, it spawns a raid. And a raid is like an attack that the robots make. So basically a bunch of robots spawn kind of in like a large circle around the farm. And then they all try to run to the farm and break your crops. And they break any blocks they can find in their path. You can see they did a bunch of damage to the watering cannon over here, which we haven't fixed yet. So they try to get to your crops, and then if they get all your crops, then they just run off into the distance. But depending on your level, different amounts of different bots spawn. So the level is determined by what crops you have. And so if we have really high level crops like broccoli is a really high one, and pineapple is the other really hard one. If you have lots of broccoli and pineapple, then tape bots will spawn, and that's really dangerous because they can like shoot blocks and break them. So we're probably not going to plant any broccoli or anything for a bit, because we don't want any of our nice infrastructure to fail. Yeah, so that's Scrap Mechanic. Everyone who's watching should get it because it's really good, and it's $20 for pre-release, which I mean, like not Universe Sandbox. Dyson Sphere program is just like the same amount, and it's also really good. But Scrap Mechanic has like multiplayer, and I think Scrap Mechanic has more return value than a lot of other games. It's kind of like Minecraft for me, where you can like keep coming back to it. And this is just survival mode. I would show you creative mode, but I'm the host of this survival world, and I don't want my friends to be forcibly disconnected. So yeah, I didn't really have much anything more really planned for this video besides just explaining what Scrap Mechanic is. Yeah, that's Scrap Mechanic. Scrap Mechanic is, I don't know why I said it's pre-release, because it's technically pre-release, but I don't think it should be free release. I think it's ready to be released. Yeah, it's definitely ready. So, everybody, thank you for watching, and, see the next video, that I make, because it'll probably be good, because this video was very good. Very good video about Scrap Mechanic that's very much ready. I can't, like, look at my face. There we go, you can see my little mustache a little bit, wait. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, and, yeah, I'll see you in the next video.